Hey guys, thank you for coming to my channel. In this video, we'll be talking about run-on sentences and how they can be fixed. So what is a run-on sentence? A run-on sentence is a sentence where two or more sentences, also known as main clauses / independent clauses, are connected without the proper punctuation. So how do we fix run-on sentences? There is multiple ways to fix run-on sentences, and we'll be discussing them in this video. To fix run-on sentences, one can use a period, a semicolon, a coordinating conjunction, or a subordinating conjunction. So before we discuss the ways to fix run-on sentences, I wanted to give you guys a few definitions of some words that we're going to be using, just so you guys have an understanding of those words first before we get into all of the other stuff. So what is an independent clause, also known as a main clause? An independent clause is another word for sentence. An independent clause can stand on its own as a complete sentence, and it has meaning. Examples of independent clauses. I live in a house, and I like running. As you can see, these are both complete thoughts, which makes them complete sentences. And also throughout the video, I may refer to sentences as independent clauses or independent clauses as sentences. They're both the same thing. And also keep in mind that independent clauses are also called main clauses. Now let's discuss some important ways to correct run-on sentences. One way of correcting run-on sentences is by using a period. Periods are commonly used to indicate a thought or sentence is complete. And I'll be putting examples on the next slide. So here's our first example where we're correcting run-on sentences by using a period. So the run-on sentence, which is also incorrect, says, "It's cold outside today, I'm wearing my boots." As you can see, there's no pause, there's no punctuation, no nothing. So the correct way of saying this would be, "It's cold outside today, period, I'm wearing my boots." So our second example where we're correcting a run-on sentence by using a period says, "I like wearing makeup, it makes my face look prettier." So as you can see in the run-on sentence, there's no pause, no punctuation, no nothing. So the correct way of saying this would be, "I like wearing makeup, period, it makes my face look prettier." Another way of correcting run-on sentences is by using a semicolon. Semicolons are used to connect two separate but related sentences, also known as independent clauses. As you can see, our run-on sentence says, "I like swimming, I'm going to the pool." There's no pause, no punctuation, no nothing. So the correct way of saying this would be, "I like swimming, semicolon, I'm going to the pool." As you can see, the semicolon divides two separate but related clauses. Another way of correcting run-on sentences is by using coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are used to join words, phrases, and clauses. FAMBOYS is an acronym that's commonly used to help us remember the 7 coordinating conjunctions, which are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So here are some examples with coordinating conjunctions. Our first example says, "I like candy, but I don't like chocolate." As you can see, but is the coordinating conjunction, and it adds one part of the sentence with the other part of the sentence. So I like candy is being connected with I don't like chocolate. Our next example says, "I am wearing socks and shoes." As you can see, and is the coordinating conjunction in this sentence, and the and is being used to connect the sentence "I am wearing socks" with the word shoes. So next we have coordinating conjunctions being used to correct run-on sentences. So our run-on sentence says, "I love watching movies, I want to go to the movie theater." As you can see, there's no pause, there's no punctuation, no nothing. So the correct way of saying this would be, "I love watching movies, so I want to go to the movie theater." As you can see, so is the coordinating conjunction in this sentence. And the so is being used to connect both of the clauses in the sentence. Subordinating conjunctions are also used to correct run-on sentences. A subordinating conjunction can be a single word, or it can be a group of words that link a subordinate clause / dependent clause to an independent clause / sentence. You're probably wondering what a subordinate clause is. So a subordinate clause has a verb and a subject, and it's used to add more info to a sentence. A subordinate clause is not a sentence and relies on an independent clause to form a sentence. So here's our first example of a subordinate clause. "When I was born, I weighed 6 pounds." As you can see, when I was born is not a complete sentence, and it's relying on I weighed 6 pounds to become a complete sentence. So when I was born would be considered the subordinate clause. So our second example of a subordinate clause says, when she was 10, she got her first bike. As you can see, when she was 10 is the subordinate clause here because it relies on she got her first bike to become a complete sentence. If I just said when she was 10, that wouldn't be a sentence, and that's why it's considered a subordinate clause. So now that we know what a subordinate clause is, let's get back to subordinating conjunctions. There are multiple types of subordinating conjunctions, and we'll discuss those on the next slide. So we'll be discussing subordinating conjunctions of reason, like because, since, in order to. Subordinating conjunctions of comparison, like rather than and whether. And subordinating conjunctions of time, like once, before, until, and after. Now let's correct some run-on sentences by adding a subordinating conjunction. With this method, you would turn one of the sentences into a dependent clause / subordinate clause. For example, our run-on sentence says, I like animals, I'm going to the zoo. So the correct way of saying this would be, because I like animals, I'm going to the zoo. As you can see, because is our subordinating conjunction, and we added that at the beginning of the sentence. So here's our second example of correcting a run-on sentence with a subordinating conjunction. So our run-on sentence says, I need groceries tomorrow, I'm going grocery shopping. As you can see, there's no punctuation, no comma, no nothing. So the correct way of saying this would be, since I need groceries, I'm going grocery shopping tomorrow. As you can see, since is the subordinating conjunction that we added. Also, keep in mind that a comma splice is a type of run-on sentence, and it can be fixed in the same way a regular run-on sentence can be fixed. With comma splices, two independent clauses, also known as sentences, are joined with a comma, which is not the correct punctuation mark to be using. So here's how to fix a comma splice by using a period. So the incorrect sentence says, I like dogs, comma, they're cute. Instead, we should say, I like dogs, period, they're cute. I like dogs is one separate idea, and they're cute is another separate idea, so they need to be separated, and that's why we put the period in there. Fixing a comma splice by using a semicolon. So as you can see, our incorrect example says, I like animals, my favorite animal is a giraffe. So the comma isn't supposed to be there, so the correct way of saying this would be, I like animals, semicolon, my favorite animal is a giraffe. As you can see, the semicolon is being used to separate two similar ideas, but they're both different sentences. Fixing a comma splice by using a coordinating conjunction. So our incorrect sentence says, I like reading, comma, I have so many books. Also keep in mind that commas are commonly used to pretty much indicate a pause, and that's not the right use in this sentence. So the correct way of saying this would be, I like reading and I have so many books. As you can see, and is the coordinating conjunction that we added to the sentence, and it separates the two ideas, or the two sentences, shall I say. And last but not least, we have fixing a comma splice by using a subordinating conjunction. Our incorrect example says, I'm overweight, comma, I need to lose some weight. As you can see, this isn't the appropriate use of a comma, so the correct way of saying this would be, because I'm overweight, I need to lose some weight. As you can see, because is the subordinating conjunction that we added. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video was informative. If it was informative, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe, or all of the above, and I'll see you next time.